Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Do I look too grainy?
No, I think you're good. I think you're good. My teacher's not looking for anything like fancy. She just like get an interview in.
Very cool. What is this about?
I have
to me. How are you doing?
I'm good. I have to interview a professional over like it could be like a dancer or something like that, and I was like, Audie did professional dancing, so like I'll go with her.
I'm a professional.
Yes.
I think I am.
And I just have to ask like 5 questions, and then I have to write a 500-word paragraph on what I learned from the experience. So.
Holy moly.
Well, I'm a dance minor, so like this counts towards my minor, so.
That makes me happy.
Blythe's a dance minor too. I know, after the interview, she's like, tell me, I want to say hi to Ani. I'm like, I will. I'm like, gotta do the interview. Okay, so we'll jump right into the first question. The first question is, did you always want to do dance professionally, or is it something that came along later in your life?
Yes, I always wanted to do dance. I grew up very, like, where I grew up, it wasn't the norm. Mm-hmm. So where I grew up in a border town, so wanting to do something in the arts wasn't totally like what everybody did. Mm-hmm. There was definitely other traits that you did where I was from, and so I started dancing when I was 3, and I think by the time I was like 15, 16, I knew that this is what I wanted to do forever. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had no idea. When I told my mom that I wanted to be a dancer, I remember my mom saying, like, I don't know how to help you. Like, I don't know what that even means. Like, what does it mean to want to be a dancer? I have no idea. Like, I can help you if you want to be a teacher or, like, maybe go do a doctor thing. Like, but, I mean, a dancer, like, the career in the fine arts was just really, really rare. But I knew that I wanted to do it. So I just, I knew that I wanted to be a dancer for, like, the rest of my life. And I was going to find a way to make that happen. So, yeah, I did. I did know at a very young age that this is what I wanted to do, for sure.
Nice, nice. All right. The next question is, how many performances did you participate in a week? Like, normally?
Oh, gosh. Like, at what point? Like, are we talking, like like chronologically, or, like?
I mean, I guess just, like, the most. Like, in a week, like, how, like, did you have, like, certain gigs you did? Like, did you have, like, 2 or 3 different gigs? And then for each gig, like, how many times a week did you have to perform? Stuff like that.
In my prime, like, in, like, the peak of my career, so at some point you call yourself, like, this starving artist trying to make this what you do, right? Mm-hmm. And so I would say there was a definite moment when I was, like, really trying to make a name for myself, that you took any gig that you could. Like, you went to rehearsals, you went to auditions, you did gigs that, like, weren't, like, the funnest, most like, they weren't the greatest gigs, but you took anything that you could get. Mm-hmm. And it's mainly just, like, networking and introducing yourself to people, and, like, you just always think that, like, you do a gig, you work hard at the gig, and then, like, I would say in a week, for me, like, if you ask me on my, like, absolute prime, this is probably when I moved to Dallas. It was, like, 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. I didn't only do dance, though. I also did acting. So, I had, oh gosh, I know this. Okay, so my gigs entailed of, like, teaching during the day, and then auditions, like, teaching and auditions were, like, daily, and then, well, like, training was evening wise, so, like, you'd go to practice or rehearsal or whatever, and then you would do, like, whatever gig got you food, pretty much. And I would say, and then if you booked a show on top of that, gig-wise, I would say there was about 4 to 5 gigs a week. Like if you're doing good, like if you're like hustling and you like got yourself, like you're saying hi and you're like, I do this, I'm a dancer, I can do this, I can, if you're doing well, like at the peak of my like starving artist career, it was definitely like 4 to 5 gigs and performances a week. Like anything that you could get, you just say yes to it. So you just say yes because it's a paycheck, and you're like,
yeah. All right.
So, but yeah, like once you like kind of get mainstream stuff, if you start booking shows where it's like this is your job, like you you do a show and you go to rehearsals full time. It's your job, and so all you do is kind of focus on that. And even then, with the show, you could still book some gigs, and it kind of goes down a little bit because you're more focused on the show. But yeah, so 4 to 5.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. All right. The next question is, what is the audition process like, and how did you prepare for your auditions?
Oh boy, the audition process is. It depends. It depends on what you're auditioning for. There's so many different genres and so many different types of like performances. You have like a very commercial route. You have like the more like the raw industry route. There's like so many different performance opportunities, and the audition process always varies. It's still like a cattle call. Like you show up and you're dressed for whatever you're auditioning for. Like for when I was doing the audition for the NBA, it's super like cliche, it's super like commercial. So you're dressed to be like the most like super like funky, like you have to be smiley and like you know, and you show up and you're like this like super positive, like I got the job already. And it's a big cattle call. Like you just show up with a bunch of people and you learn whatever they're gonna like do the audition call on, and you get a number, you submit your resume, like you sign in with your resume and your picture and your headshot, and you just kind of wait for your number to get called, or like you learn the dance and then you wait for your number to get called. I mean, it all depends on what you're auditioning for, but I mean, for the most part, it's like walk in, headshot, resume. That's always everything. Everything is your headshot, everything's your resume. You submit that, you get your number, you learn the piece that they're going to audition for. It's a dance call. And then you go, they usually group you up and like by 4s or 5s. And then it gets trickled down by then. Like at that point, they like first call, second call, like they make their cuts and stuff. And hopefully you make it towards the end of the last cut. Preparing for it, I did have my own rituals. Like I had my ritual. Like I did certain things the same way every single time. If I wasn't wearing red lips, I was wearing red.
Yeah.
I heard this like tale that like red is like a good audition color. And so the most part is like trying to stand out and do your best to look like an individual and someone where eyes are gonna go. But I have like very like specific rituals. It's kind of silly.
I do them too.
Yeah, but I grew up with like, you light a candle and you like meditate over what it is and you manifest what you're gonna do and you just like pray for the best, and then getting ready, like I needed to get ready a certain way all the time, and you just like get dressed up for that specific audition, like whatever it is they're asking for. You just make sure that you show up looking like what they're asking for. And for dancer call, it's just like the process is just being like mentally ready, like mentally there. Like almost my whole thing was like, you have to walk in knowing that you have the job. or walk in knowing that they need you for the job. Like, you have to walk. I always walked in saying, you need me for this bit. Like, there's no other way around it. And that was just, like, my mental process. Like, my mental process was very, like, one, I would speak it out loud. Like, before I would walk into auditions or, like, when I was getting ready, I would speak it out loud. Like, literally, sounds cheesy, but I would literally say, like, I'm going to be on this company, or I'm going to be in the show. They're going to cast me, and I'm not going to accept anything less than that. And then showing up and just being there, like, being present with this, like, aura and energy that, like, you have to cast me. Like, there's no other option. Like, you don't have another option. Like, look around you. I'm the one you need to have on your show. So, I mean, it's all mental. It's super mental. It's super... And then I got no's. You know, you get a lot of no's. You do. You have to be ready for the no's. You have to almost accept the no. You have to, like, on top of being mentally, like, prepared to say, like, you need me for the show. On the other hand, you also have to be ready you have to be ready for them to tell you no, we don't need you. And walk away still with your head up high and going, like, that's great. Next audition, the next one. But yeah, it's preparing for auditions is super duper mental. It's a lot. It is. And a lot of people have their rituals. Like, you just do things step by step. It might sound superstitious, but there's a lot of, like, rituals in the performance world for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I do the same thing with acro. If I'm not wearing my purple eyeliner, I didn't wear my purple eyeliner one time and I messed up and I said purple eyeliner every time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's real. It's real. You find your thing, you find your stick, and then you just don't ever go away from that. Like, it never changes. And to this day, I still have a ritual. I still do the same thing. And I'm old. Like, I don't even do auditions anymore. But getting ready for stuff like this, like, totally, I have this, like, step by step. I have to do it all the time.
Okay. Next question is, what is your favorite style of dance, and what styles do you need to know for auditions? I mean, I guess it just,
My favorite style of dance, it's changed throughout the years. And I've been that performer who's, like, always been interested in the next thing. Like, oh, I want to try that, I want to try that, I want to try that. At this age right now, for me, I can tell you it really started with, like, jazz and hip hop. When I started professionally, like, my style was jazz and hip hop, and that's all I auditioned for. And then it moved into musical theater, and then that's all I was kind of going for. And then it moved into, like, very alternative, like, hip hop. Like, I was just, once I started getting tattoos and stuff, you kind of have to go with where you're going to fit in and where you're going to, like, actually get pulled. So, and then it moved into, like, hip hop, and then I started really accepting, like, what I look like. My look was Latin and, you know, just, like, international. We call you international when you're, like, when we don't think you're not. It's hard to explain. You have the tattoos, and then it's just like, oh, you're an international, like, look. So I started going towards that, which was, like, the Latin and the ballroom and the burlesque. And I started moving towards, like, as I got older, as I got more, like, well-rounded, and I started, like, I was alternative. Again, I was all of a sudden in this category of alternative because of my tattoos. I started going more of an alternative route. So it was, like, Latin and burlesque and, you know, like, special commercial things, like, things that, like, oh, we need this alternative. Like, you start finding the categories of where you fit in. So I did the whole, like, cookie cutter commercial stuff for a very long time, and that was, like, jazz and hip hop and stuff like that. And then it moved into, like, I can do anything. I can do burlesque, I can do tap, I can do, like, salsa, I can do whatever you want, right? Because now I fit this mold in the alternative category, international alternative. So what was the other thing? It was
like, do you need to know, like, specific dances for auditions? Like, I know that, like, certain auditions ask for certain things, but, like, what are some of, like, the key ones that you, like, need to know?
I would say foundationally, you should have, like, a solid ballet foundation. And and just like know your technique. So ballet is definitely a really, really strong like genre to have under your belt. I didn't like ballet growing up. As I got older and I realized that this is what I wanted to do, I was like, okay, I need to have a ballet technique. And then after that, honestly, like it always helps to know like musical theater.
Mm-hmm.
It helps to like understand the acting side of dancing, and because depending on what you're auditioning for, whether it's like a commercial, or it's like a pro league or a show or a tour or whatever, like there's always acting involved. So like theater and ballet are probably like your best foundations to be able to do any genre. And when you're in theater, like if you have a theater background and you're like are a good actor, you pretty much just like fake it till you make it. You're like, oh, yeah. And then you show up and you're like, yeah, I'm a tap dancer. And then you pretend like you act. You know what I mean? It's called acting. So definitely ballet and acting are like your key things. And then it helps to just kind of be open in training and other stuff. Like whatever you're interested in, give it a shot. So that way you can always have it under your belt. Like if you're interested in ballroom, take a ballroom class. And you can even just like, if you took one ballroom class, you can put that on your resume and say like, oh yeah, I did ballroom. You know what I mean? So you're kind of familiar with stuff. So it's just being well versed in all genres and stuff like that. But I would say ballet and theater are probably your best.
I love theater,
For
so
sure.
that works for me. And I've taken ballet classes, and I'm taking ballroom classes. I'm taking a choreography class next year, so I get to choreograph a dance for our dance showcase. So I'll have to send that to you if I do it.
Yes, please do.
I will.
I would love to see that.
And then the last question is, would you go back and change anything you did during your dance career? Like, what would, if you had to do something different, like, would you do anything different?
I'm pretty proud of the way that I navigated my career, because I really came from not knowing a lot. Like, I really did come from, like, this isn't the norm, versus, like, kids that grow up in California and that's just, like, the industry, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you just, like, you're born into this and you're, like, you know exactly what studios to go to. You know exactly what choreographers and workshops to take and stuff like that. I definitely grew up different. I think if I could go back and change something about how I took my career on, I would have definitely chosen a different school. I would have done a little more research and really tried to learn more about how to get out of where I was from, to really go to a school. Like there's a school in New York. I probably, if I would have been less afraid, and if I wouldn't have allowed like where I was raised to like have a filter on how much I could do, I would have definitely changed that. I'm fortunate enough that I actually did have a fine arts school growing up. So in my high school years, I did go to a fine arts school, and I was able to. But even then, like, there wasn't that much still. Like, at that point, still there wasn't enough for me to know, like, how you explore the world in a dance career. So I definitely took it with, like, I don't know, I went in blind. I went 100% in blind, going, like, I don't know what this means. I don't know how to do this. I wasn't raised to, like, these beautiful studios and stuff like that. I think if I could change stuff about my career, I would definitely change my education route. I would have done more research and really, really done everything I could to get to the school that I probably should have graduated from. And that's probably like my biggest. But I don't regret anything. I definitely took my career into my own hands. And I knew that the university that I went to didn't have that source for me, and so I decided to say, you know what, like, by the time I graduate, I'm going to be 21, 22, and not leaving my city isn't going to get me where I want to be. So I got out of my university from my hometown to take on a career and just give it a shot. And so I just knew that like I had to do it at a young age. Like I had to do it at like 18, 19, where I could compete with other kids and learn more and not be this 21-year-old who like spent 4 years in a university that didn't know anything about the career, about the industry. And then I would have to be competing against 18-year-olds and not know anything about it. So I don't regret it. I actually feel proud that I did what I did. I took it and I said, you know what, this isn't for me. I have to take my career and do it and figure it out. But like, if I could change something, if I could go back, I would absolutely change my educational path and where I went. Like, I would go somewhere else. I wouldn't have stayed in my home. I would have finished college somewhere else, like school I wanted to go to. Yeah, that's the only thing I would change. But other than that, where like there's no set path. There's no like this is how you have to do it. Mm-hmm. It all depends on your work ethic and like your tenacity to like show up and go to class or go to train or go to auditions and just like take any audition that you can and give any opportunity that you can a shot and just like go for it. Like that's all it takes to be like I feel like that's what it takes to be a successful dancer performer, is that you just like you almost don't say no to anything. You just say like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and you work hard at it. Like you just take every handshake, you take every network opportunity, you take every class that you can, you take every audition, and you just show up. You show up and you show that you can do the work. Because a piece of paper sometimes doesn't exactly like prove that you can do the work. Mm-hmm. It's all about like actually showing up and being there, being present for it. So where I'm at now, I don't regret anything. But where I'm at now, there is always question, and there's always going to be that in life. Like, what if I would have done this differently? There's always that one thing, like, if I would have been a little more courageous about my education and what I was going to do for university, I would have done that differently. Yeah,
that was good. That was all the questions. I wrote, these are my notes from class. First of all, I have your name circled right here. Because I was writing down names of people and I was like, no, Ani. And I came up with all the questions in class today. This project isn't even due. You came up with those questions? Yeah.
Wow, those are good questions.
Thanks.
Those are super good questions. I hope did I answer them okay?
Yeah, no, you answered them great. This is perfect. Yeah, no, this isn't even due until like November. And you were like, oh yeah, like we can meet today. And I was like, perfect, I'm just gonna get it done. So I have other stuff to worry about.
Why not?
Right?
Yeah, why not? Oh no, and then my October is insane. There's like, I was like, let's do it today. Like,
yeah.
I'm sitting down, I have nothing to do. I do have to work on music right now because I have a routine at 8 in the morning tomorrow. I have to have music by I even started music for that routine tomorrow, so I'm like,
You're like, oops.
So I was like, let's do this now before I get like caught up.
Yeah. I need to call Blythen. Let me call Blythen and see if she'll come in. Sorry, they were like screaming outside the door. I live with her and a couple of my other teammates. She's probably...
Are you still recording me?